something new is everywhere. A sound, a phrase, a product, a specific opinion that everyone seems to have formed at exactly the same moment. And everyone around you is moving toward it, almost magnetically, almost automatically, the way water moves toward a drain. And you are standing there, completely still, not because you are trying to be different, not because you are judging the people moving, but because the pull that everyone else feels, you simply do not feel it. And someone, at some point, has made you feel like that is a problem. It is not. And understanding why changes how you see yourself entirely. When a trend emerges, a song, an aesthetic, a collective opinion, something specific happens inside the brain of someone who participates. The brain's reward system fires in anticipation of social belonging. Psychologists call this social proof, the deeply wired human tendency to look at what others are doing and use it as information about what is correct, safe, and worth doing. For most of human history, this mechanism was essential. Following the group meant survival. Deviating from the group meant danger. So the brain learned, across thousands of years of evolution, to feel a real neurological reward when it moves with the collective, and a real discomfort when it does not. But here is what is fascinating. Not every brain responds to social proof with the same intensity. The first concept, optimal distinctiveness theory. Psychologist Dr. Marilynn Brewer at Ohio State University, whose research has shaped social psychology across the US and UK, found that humans have two competing fundamental needs: the need to belong and the need to be distinct. Most people live in constant negotiation between the two. But some people, those whose internal sense of self is already stable, already anchored, already full, do not feel the belonging pull as urgently. Not because they do not value connection, but because they have already found it, somewhere deeper, in ways that do not require external validation to feel real. The second concept, internalized identity. The degree to which a person's sense of self comes from within, rather than from what is reflected back by the surrounding culture. People with strongly internalized identities do not experience a trending moment as an invitation. They experience it as noise, not because they are cold, not because they are superior, but because their identity is already anchored to something that does not shift with the cultural weather. They know what they like before anyone tells them what to like. They know what they think before consensus arrives. The third concept, how this gets built. Children who grew up in environments where their authentic preferences were consistently respected, where they were allowed to like what they liked without pressure to conform, develop what psychologists call a stable internal locus of evaluation. But interestingly, so do children who grew up in environments where external conformity was demanded so relentlessly that the internal self became a protected, private space. A sanctuary. The one place no one could reach. Either way, the result is an adult whose sense of self does not live in the opinion of the crowd. It lives somewhere the crowd cannot access. Here is the part nobody discusses. Not following trends has a quiet social cost. Conversations you cannot fully enter. References you do not share. The specific, low-level exhaustion of being in a room where everyone has participated in something collectively, and you have not. It looks like this. Someone references something viral, a sound, a moment, a thing that everyone apparently watched, and you feel it. That split-second calculation. Do I admit I haven't seen it? Do I nod and move on? Do I try to explain that I'm not behind? I just genuinely didn't feel pulled toward it? And you smile. And you move on. And something small, not quite loneliness, not quite alienation, settles quietly in the room between you and everyone else. And the deeper cost, the one that takes longer to name, is the specific loneliness of cultural moments that feel collective to everyone except you. Watching something peak in popularity, everyone gathered around the same fire, and standing at the edge of the warmth, genuinely unable to feel what they are feeling. Not performing distance, not choosing it, just, honestly, quietly, not feeling the pull. So what does this look like across a life? Your taste does not follow seasons. What you loved 5 years ago, you still love. Not from nostalgia, from the fact that your preferences were never borrowed from the culture to begin with. So they do not expire when the culture moves on. You form opinions before the consensus arrives, and then watch, with quiet curiosity, as the consensus eventually arrives somewhere near where you already were. You are almost never the first to adopt something new, but you are also almost never the person who adopted it because everyone else did. When you do move toward something, it is because something in you genuinely moved, not because the crowd created a gravitational pull you couldn't resist. And in relationships, people sometimes mistake your independence for indifference, your stillness for coldness, your refusal to be swept up for a lack of passion. But the truth is, you are not less passionate. You are more selective about what receives your passion. And that selectivity, that quiet, consistent, unglamorous loyalty to your own genuine response is not a personality flaw. It is a form of integrity. So where does healing begin for someone who has spent their life standing still while the world moved, and been made to feel, quietly, that something was wrong with the stillness? Not in forcing yourself to participate, not in performing interest you do not feel, in understanding that your stillness was never absence. It was presence, a different kind. Step 1. The origin audit. Once, just once, sit with your genuine tastes and ask, where did this come from? Not the trend you ignored, your actual preferences, the music you returned to, the aesthetics you have always been drawn to, the opinions you held before anyone else arrived at the same place. Trace them back. You will find, almost without exception, that they came from somewhere real, from genuine encounter, from honest response, from the specific, unrepeatable way you met something that actually moved you. That is not nothing, that is everything. Step 2. The genuine curiosity practice. Once a month, allow yourself to be curious about something trending, not to participate, not to adopt, just to understand why it moves people, what need it meets, what feeling it creates, what it says about the moment we are in. Because there is a difference between disinterest and defensiveness. Disinterest is neutral, defensiveness is fear. Make sure your stillness is the first one, not the second. Step 3. The selective yes. Choose one collective moment, one trend, one cultural event, one shared experience, and enter it fully. Not because you have to, because you chose to. This is not compromise. This is the practice of discovering that your internal compass is secure enough to enter the crowd occasionally, and come back out exactly who you were when you went in. The human brain is not wired wrong for following trends, and it is not wired wrong for ignoring them. What matters, what psychology consistently points toward, is whether the choice is genuine. The person who follows trends because they genuinely enjoy collective cultural moments is getting something real. The person who follows trends because opting out feels too socially costly is performing belonging they do not actually feel. And the person who stands quietly unbothered, not out of superiority, not out of rebellion, but simply because their sense of self does not require external confirmation to feel solid, that person is not missing something. That person has already found it. When the trend passes, as all trends do, they will still be exactly where they were, unchanged, which is not rigidity, it is rootedness. Drop a comment. What is one trend you genuinely never understood the appeal of? Just one. And if someone in your life has been made to feel like their stillness is a problem, who stands quietly while the world moves, share this with them. It might be the first time someone tells them that what they have been doing was never wrong. It was wisdom. Subscribe to Psychology Space, because the most important conversations are the ones that find you when you are finally ready to hear them.